As a result of insecurity, at one point in time in this country, in around 2014, my hometown was sacked. The name of the town, MUBI, was changed. My aged father trekked 17 kilometers to go to Cameroon with his family to escape. So I am a living example of somebody that had really suffered this insecurity. And Prof spoke about 1914 and history and history and history. But how many of you here know that in history, I was not a Nigerian until February 1961. And we became Nigerians by choice, by votes, not by coercion. We experienced 3 colonial systems. We were first colonized by Germany. We became a French colony, and later we became a British colony before we became Nigerians. So I've gone through a lot. When I was growing up, there was a story that fascinated me a lot, and most of those that are my age and below must have understood, must have heard that story several times. We read it in English, we read it in Hausa, we read it even in Fulfulde in very many languages. That there were some blind men who were trying to describe an elephant. I don't know how many of you can remember that story. That the blind men were to describe an elephant. So the one that came and held on the legs said, an elephant is like a tree. The other person touched the body and said, an elephant is like a wall. Another one touched the ear and said, an elephant is like a mat. One of them held on the tail and said, an elephant is like a rope. I'm starting from there. Today, in Nigeria, we are all like the blind men trying to describe the elephant. If you ask 10 people to describe Nigeria to you, you will have 10 different views of this country. We've never been this divided in the manner we see our country since we came together. But we're talking about democracy. And we have had the longest period of unbroken democratic rule in Nigeria. Unfortunately, we are making one mistake, which young people must understand. You know, if Professor Odenta is telling you to rise up and recalibrate your country, you must understand that there is something that is going wrong with this democratic system we are operating. Gradually, we are equating democracy with election. We believe that the fact that there's a periodic ritual of elections that you use in deciding who governs you, that you are a democratic country. I think we're making a mistake. Democracy is far deeper than just the elections. But nobody is emphasizing the other aspects of democracy. There is no citizens' oversight. If the National Assembly has oversight over the executive, who oversees the National Assembly? The members of the National Assembly are configured in such a way that we have 3 from each Senate. From each state, we have 3 senators, and then we have members of House of Reps representing populations. The essence of it is to ensure that in determining the future of our country, the states have an equal standing, so no smaller states are not cheated by bigger states, and then the populations are represented so that those with small populations do not cheat those with large populations. That was the whole interest, the whole intent. And with that intent came the fact that members will be elected as representatives to come to Abuja and represent the interests of either their states or their people. But I don't know. With much respect to the members of National Assembly, on a lot of issues, they are not representing us. And I must say this very clearly. Now, again, we have another aspect of the democracy that we are facing that is not in our interest presently. The elimination of choice. You just conduct elections and pretend that you're making a choice. But that choice, how did that choice come about? Right from the process of nomination, there was nothing free and fair. Some individuals just decide and say, this person will go and stand for this election. And then, so the concept of choice has been eliminated from our democracy. Now, a democracy is like a bridge. And every bridge, for it, to be safe, must have guardrails on this side and on this side. Now, democracy also has its own guardrails. But for me, those guardrails of democracy are broken. And what are the guardrails? Some of them, yes, the Constitution. The Constitution is a guardrail of democracy. Does this Constitution safeguard democracy? For me, this Constitution is even a conspiracy against the people of this country, because Part 2 of the Constitution, fundamental objectives and directive principles of state, are made non-justiciable. That is the section that gives the leadership of Nigeria a sense of responsibility, and it gives the population of Nigeria a sense of duty, expectations from government. It says you are entitled to free education, you are entitled to free health, but if government doesn't give you, you can't go anywhere to ask for it. So why give you that in the first instance? Why make it, responsible and yet not responsible? Why do you have a constitution that says people of this country are entitled to certain things, but that if government does not provide those things, these people cannot go anywhere to ask government to provide them? Is that not a conspiracy against the people? Now, take, for example, a very serious issue that some of us are bothered about. The Constitution says no individual will be elected as an independent candidate. You need a political party to contest for an election. And then you go to a political party gives you a platform, an election is conducted, your name and your picture is not on the ballot paper, it's only the political party symbol that is there. You win, the party wins that election, takes that mandate and hands over to you, and you go and sit down, and one day you wake up and you take that same mandate from that political party and give another political party, and you say all is well with the democracy we are operating in this country. For me, that again is not acceptable. In the Second Republic, I remember I was in Gongola State. My governor, Abubakar Barde, changed party. And in order to recontest after changing party, he had to step down as governor. And his deputy governor, Wilberforce Bafte Juta, became the governor. That was what it was, because that mandate had belonged to a different political party. He had no right to carry it to another political party. But today, what are we doing? We are celebrating people taking mandate given to one party and taking it to another party, and we think all is okay. Now, what of our laws, rules, and our courts? Are they actually safeguarding our democracy? Are the rules sufficiently robust enough to protect the individual? Are the courts actually do we have courts of law or court of justice? Because there's a big difference. A court of justice dispenses justice to people. A court of law argues on the technicalities of law. At the end of the day, justice is not served. Now, what of the electoral umpire? These are all the guardrails of democracy. Is our INEC, electoral umpire, is it impartial? Is it credible? Is it prepared to make use of technology? Does it protect voting rights of citizens? If it does not, then again it's another broken guardrail of democracy. Now, the political parties. The political parties are the most pathetic. None of the parties in this country is democratic. None of the parties is owned by the members. A few patrons with deep pockets control the parties. They determine how the parties are. Very recently, there was congresses in one of the political parties in one of the states. They did all the world congress, all the local government congress, and all the state congress, and then elected whoever they wanted to elect as the leader. Everything was brought to the office of the governor, and the governor sat down and said, remove this guy. No, he's not fit to be in this place. Replace him with this guy. Remove this guy. Is that the kind of political party that can safeguard democracy? Now, do we have a political party whose not ideology, let me not even use ideology, because when people like Udenta use ideology, it frightens a lot of other people who think that when you say ideology, you're talking about yes, but do we have a political party whose character you can say, this is what it stands for? How come our political parties have become revolving doors in the same building? So somebody can walk from this door, enter this room, come out from this room, enter this room without any feeling of either lost or whatever. What is really happening? Do we have political parties in the true sense of political parties? And if our parties do not have character, then how do you begin to ask the political parties, how do you hold them accountable for what they do? There are not two APC states in Nigeria that are doing the same thing. There are not two PDP states in Nigeria that are doing the same thing. It then means that the character of the leadership that is established in what we call democracy is dependent on the character on the individual that is holding the leadership position, not necessarily the party that has brought him to power, because the party is of no consequence and no value in determining the governance model that we have. Now, do we have another guardrail of democracy? Do we have mutual toleration? Do the political elite actually even tolerate each other? Do they build an elite consensus like the type that Professor Odinta spoke about? Or is it just conflict about material possession within the system? Now there are 5 sins of the ruling elite. I confess I am one of the ruling elite, and my colleagues here sitting down here all are members of the ruling elite. And we have 5 sins. You are, my friend. The first sin that we are committing against this system is the amplification of our natural fault lines. We amplify our natural fault lines. We push the differences that we have much, much harder than the things that are supposed to bring us together. And we do that coupled with our sense of micronationalism to give us advantage in power ascension. It's not because when we ascend the power, we will remember the very people that we are talking about in terms of division. The second sin that our ruling elites have imbibed is excessive greed and institutionalization of entitlement over and above responsibility. I am imagining a person of 60, 70 in Nigeria telling you he is speaking 2 billion. What are you going to do with that? What are you going to do with it? And the moment you elect people and you send them to the National Assembly, the first motion they are going to talk about is the cars they are going to have. Seriously speaking. So is this entitlement, what am I entitled to, is what they are more bothered about. And every blessed day, they sit down and discuss their entitlement. They don't discuss the entitlements of the ordinary people of Nigeria. The other one is the institutionalization of transactional relationships in politics and all social engagement. Today, if you go back to your village, if you are not ready to distribute money, nobody takes you as a very serious person. We have made the entire country a huge transactional entity, that everything has to be transactional, everything has to be with money. And the fourth is the weaponization of poverty. We have made our people very poor, and because they are poor, we weaponize that poverty to use it for power ascendancy, and then we lie to the same people that we are going to alleviate their poverty, but the moment we get power, we accumulate more resources, increase more poverty on the part of the people, and then at the end of the day, the cycle continues. You ride the best car or whatever, you must also come and tell us what you're doing for us. But here we are. They have even changed the style of governance now. When they want to come to you, they will buy some very stupid items and come and claim that they are empowering you. As they are distributing those empowerment materials, their agents are standing by the side to buy them back. One day, I saw an item in one of our legislators' empowerment. He is going to provide deep freezers to his constituents. I know the constituency. I know they have no power. And I know that deep freezers are not powered by firewood. So I was shocked. You go to Cameroon here, in spite of the crisis they are facing, their leaders are constructing off-grid solar power lights for rural communities. Empower people with something that can impact on their lives. Why do you give them deep freezers when you know they have no light? When you know that deep freezers are not powered by firewood? I leave it at that. We want to fix Nigeria. Then we must fix productivity, not consumption. Today, we are a consumption nation. Whether we like it or not, we are a consumption nation. Even the drop in the prices of food items is not because we have produced more food as a result of agriculture. It's because we have imported more food. Which country in this world can develop by being a consumption nation, not a productive nation? If we do not improve our productive capacity, we're wasting our time. We have to restore our values. When I was young, if they give me sweet outside or biscuits, I always ask myself first, how do I explain to my mother how I got that biscuit or sweet? That was how we were brought up, my little children. In fact, there was a woman in my village who used to sell fruits. What she used to do was to put the fruits by the roadside and count the number of stones equivalent to the price of these fruits and put them there and go back to her kitchen and work. When you come, you pick the fruits you want to pick, count the stones and drop the money. Nobody takes the money, nobody takes the fruit. That was how we were brought up. That is what you are missing today. It never needed CCTV. It never needed social media. It was in here. Today, it's been removed. People sell their mothers to make money, and they go back to their societies and they get chieftaincy titles, and they go to their universities and they get honorary doctorate degrees, and they go to and they are received with pomp and pageantry. People steal, and they tell you that yes, he has stolen for us. It's our own share that he took. What kind of country? How can you build a country with that kind of attitude? I want us to begin to talk about equity, fairness, justice, and inclusion. Because at the core of building a strong nation are these important values. If there is anybody here who is skillful enough, can you please clap with one hand? Please, can you clap with one hand? The fact that you need both your hands to clap means that in nation building, you need the man, you need the woman, you need the boy, you need the girl, you need everybody in society. Now, I am almost coming to an end. Now, we're talking about power shift. Always we talk north and south, north and south. What of generational change of leadership? Why can't we begin to mentor younger people, stronger people, and hand over power to those people that we have mentored? Presently, we are not mentoring anybody. Anybody 40 years and below in Nigeria had never lived in a good system. That's why you see student union leader has 40 SS. Because that's the only thing he has seen in his life. That's why you see, you elect somebody today to become a student union leader. The first thing, I am announcing my chief of staff. I am announcing, because that's the only thing he has seen. Have we really mentored them on the rudiments of leadership, the expectations of leadership, the responsibilities of leadership? Have we mentored our young people? And if we don't mentor them, and shift the power to them, the power will be shifted forcefully onto them without any adequate preparation, and we end up with what we have today, even tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. I feel very uncomfortable. Let me tell you, this ruling class uniform makes me very uncomfortable. But I wore it for a reason. You see this agbada I'm wearing? There is no one stitch by any tailor anywhere. Everything here is handmade. My grandmother goes to the bush, picks locust beans, comes home, ferments it, makes that condiment called Adawa, and we cook with it. You call her illiterate. The professor of food science goes out to go and buy his own Maggi. We need to put knowledge and skills together. Thank you very much.